Well, good afternoon or good evening if you're in the USA, and if you're overseas, it's already likely Super Saturday morning. I am Bruce, aka known as the guy in the blue shirt on LinkedIn. I wonder why. And my method is simpler, faster, better. And I am a process whiz and also a live stream host. And this is live stream number 252 with the amazing Jacqueline on a brand new time zone that I didn't even know existed. Atlantic time in the furthest eastern part of Canada, correct? So you're actually 4 hours ahead of me.
Yes, and actually Newfoundland is even further east. It's a half an hour. So they have their own special time zone. I'm in Prince Edward
Oh,
Island. Yes.
well. I did not. So I've learned two new things already.
There you go.
That there's Atlantic time zone that is associated with Canada and the USA, and now Finland time zone, which is 4.5 hours, I guess. So do you fall back on November 5th along
We
with
do.
the? Okay, all right. So
Yes.
that's usually a lot easier, but it always messes up my out of state people because here in Arizona we don't change. We're a no change kind of state. So
Right, right.
yeah, makes it easy. All right, so I also like to tell people the context of how I end up with guests, and I always end up with amazing guests. And if you are watching, we don't know you're watching unless you say hi. So just click on the comments and say hello. If you have a question, we may not answer it during the live stream, but we'll go back to it and answer it in the comments afterwards when it goes on to replay. And so the context of how people become my guests is what I call the 4 C's method, and I want to cover that. So it starts with a conversation, right? And a conversation, and in our case, it was I started commenting in your posts, right? Little comments here and there, and some people that know me as kind of a little bit of a smart ass, so sometimes I get a little smart assy in my comments, but that conversation led to a little bit of a connection. So I got to know you and you got to know me a little bit. And then that connection led to me reaching out to you because I wanted you to become a guest in my live stream community.
Yes.
And from that community, so that's the first 3 C's. And what I find that is if you build good community, it doesn't have to be a live stream. It could be around your local interest, coffee shop, restaurant, passion for whatever you're passionate about, then if you build that community, you will end up organically collaborating with people in that community. Well, if you're smart, you will, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Because it's the know me, like me, trust me, right? So it's like some of the stuff I'm sure you do in your relationship coaching. You know, the know me, like me leads to the trust thing. And it's absolutely the same with what I call meaningful relationships or meaningful connections. And why I cover this is actually Tisha Marie Pelletier, who's also another live stream host. She taught me a very important thing. And last year, at the end of last year, when we were doing my branding brush up, because she's my branding coach, she asked me, she said, Bruce, wouldn't it be cool if you could do business with your biz besties each and every time? And it was like,
Nice.
wow. So, if you could pick always the people you do, and that's how you do it. You can only do it when you pick people in your community, and it's great to collaborate. And the final piece of that, I don't know what your numbers are like, but for me, I only find I jive with 6% of all the people I ever meet. So it's a low number.
Interesting. How do you know it's 6%?
Well, because for a long time I used to track my activity. I'm pretty anal, being a process guy, and those were about the numbers. So if I used to follow up or whatever, and yeah, so I only jive with about 6% of the people I ever meet, and then inside that 6%, my biz besties are, they're a handful. They're a handful of people that I've recently met since being in the Arizona Phoenix district in the last couple of years. So yeah.
Nice, nice. I imagine the people that you connect with very strongly. So you have a small circle, but you're very close to them.
Yeah, I have a jagged circle.
Jagged circle. Okay.
Well, because the boundaries of the circle get stretched a little bit, right? And people pop in and out of the circle. So some people
Certainly.
bust in and some people bust out. So they create a jagged perimeter, right, on the circle. So
Yes, absolutely.
yeah, but I'm very weird because people will say, well, to be creative, you have to think outside the box. And I say to people, well, what if there's no box,
Mm,
right? Because the
right.
box itself creates a structure and is conditional around containing you inside four sites, right? So no
Exactly.
box thinking becomes a little bit more abstract. So I
Hmm.
do a lot of no box thinking. So hey.
Right. Less limits, right?
Limitless possibilities. That's one of my
Yes.
passions this year. And
Hmm.
again, with Tisha Marie Pelletier, my other passion is this is my can't see. This is my action word, and on Sedona Red Rock it says dare or
Yes.
ikikai in Japanese. I like Japanese words as well.
Oh,
So
neat.
this year I've been daring to do all sorts of things,
Excellent. That's a good way to do it.
including asking you to be my guest.
Yes. Yes. Well, I'm very honored to be here. Thank you for asking me.
All right, so I've babbled a lot about Bruce's stuff. So more to follow, I'm sure. Tell us a little bit about yourself again. If you are watching, we don't know you're watching, and we would love some love and support. So just say hi, just say hello. You can ask a question because we can't tell unless you drop something in the comments, and we will watch the comments. All right.
Okay.
So, Jacqueline, how did you get to become where you are today? It's a pretty niche line of work that you're in. Very important, but so tell us a little bit about your journey.
Absolutely. Sure. So, when I was in grade 12, I discovered that I really had a keen interest in psychology. And
Mm-hmm.
I had the pleasure of taking a psychology class in my last year of high school
Right.
and really discovered that was a big passion for me. I really like to understand people. And so then I went on to get a psychology degree. And
Mm-hmm.
then I wasn't quite done there. I was interested in social work as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I got my Bachelor of Social Work degree. And then I worked in the field for a number of years and decided that I wanted something a little bit more. In fact, I really always wanted to be a therapist, a mental health therapist, doing one
Right.
on one therapy. That was really what kind of I always kind of dreamed of, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so when I went back to school in 2011, 2012 to get my master's in social work. And then
Wow.
after that, I still didn't do the therapy thing for a number of years. So I worked in hospitals. I worked in a children's hospital. I worked in a neonatal intensive care unit. Um, all very interesting. And there were passions I found within it, but I still really longed to do the mental health work. And
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to do the one-on-one, just working with a client, not really working so much with like a big staff like you do in a hospital. I just really wanted to work with my clients and see where they could get in their journey with our
Right.
like collaboration. Um, and then from there, it was really actually more recent. It was this past spring. I'd been doing therapy for a number of years, and I really noticed I was having actually a really bad week, and I just a lot of things going on in my life. And I noticed that when I had two back-to-back therapy sessions that involved dating and relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And I really just found myself very tuned into it, excited to talk about it, excited to help my clients. And it was that day that I thought, this is what I want to do all the time. And
Right.
so, I mean, I still really love doing therapy. I still do therapy all the time. But I wanted to branch out into this more specialty of relationship and dating coaching because
Mhm.
I'm really just so interested in this area.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a minefield. So I just got a little message saying that if you are commenting, we may not be able to see it. So that is outside my control. It often happens on live streams. So again, be patient. And again, if you have questions or do want to make comments, you can still add them. It's just that Jacqueline and I may not see them, or sometimes they just pop up with a big delay on them. So we're not ignoring you. We're not being rude. It's the technology. Darn it.
It's so often the case, isn't it, Bruce?
Oh, I know. Well, and and also operator error sometimes. I've tried to fix it on the fly before, and then I usually end up disconnecting completely, and then that really doesn't do the guest any service by doing that. So I've learned not to play with any of the buttons. Try and do anything other than focus on my guest and comment. So if you are making comments or saying hello, we can't see you. Sorry. Yes. So being a single solo, I understand what you're helping people with. It's a minefield for sure.
Yes, it certainly is. Lots of, well, you're referring to dating as a minefield? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm a single solo. Don't have any kids, so
Mhm.
it's. So do you find? So I'm going to be selfish and ask some questions. Do you find that age ranges are different, the challenges, or is there always a common theme that comes about?
I think, yes, I think there are, different seasons of life bring different issues, right? Because I
Right.
think when we're in our 20s and 30s, we don't quite know ourselves as well yet. We may not have established our careers, we may not just have that confidence that we do later on in life, that
Hmm.
security in ourselves. We might also be looking for different things when we're in our 20s and 30s, like, who's that person that we're going to meet who will be the one and then we're going to have a family with. Whereas I think as we get a little bit older, it's more about companionship. It's more about looking for someone that really just complements your life. Like, how to be on your own really well. And you just are looking for somebody who shares some interests, some hobbies, your values, and really just has that complementary add on into your life. I mean, that's important when you're younger too, but I think that
Hmm.
it is a little bit different that way. What do you
Yeah.
think? Does that make sense?
Um. Yeah. There's a lot of circumstantial things, and it's funny because I really connect with people way younger than me.
Hmm. Hmm.
Partially because I go out of my way to do that, but I I don't know that the age range thing is really. It is a factor, but I don't think it's as a factor as people might make out. Because I mean, one of
Hmm.
the things you said it yourself that when we're a couple of decades younger, we don't really know ourselves.
Hmm.
Well, even in this decade I'm in, I don't really know myself. So that's
Right.
what I find, because I'm always learning and I'm always changing, and I get to like you, I get to talk with the best people on the planet, literally all over the planet. And I
Yeah.
find that perspective brings a lot of youth back to my brain and mind. So I have a
Right.
really weird brain. I mean, I can do all sorts of things with my brain that I can't do with my hands, and
Mhm.
it's yeah, so it's bizarre. So and I have a rapidly processing brain. I can't multitask, super focused, but when I'm in the groove
Mhm.
focusing, my brain will my brain will fire at a very high rate of speed, and that's why I'm able to. I love it being in 2 or 3 generations below me, working with those, because they energize me. They that
Right.
that whole thing. And I'm behaviorally an ambivert, right? So even though I do this, even though I do in-person networking meetings, um, when I've done a big event, I need 2 days where I don't want to talk to anyone, see anyone. I don't want to be human at all because I
Right.
need that recharge
Right.
time. So
Okay. So just from what you've been telling me so far, I don't know if it's so much age that you're looking for necessarily somebody younger. They wouldn't have to be younger, but is somebody who just has a lot of energy and somebody who really has a life of their own, like a lot of
yeah,
passions and a lot of things that they have going for them, and
yeah,
that would understand, like, I just need a couple of days because I've been flat out and I've been doing all this stuff. And now I just need a break from
right,
everybody. And they
yeah,
would get that and they wouldn't be hurt and they would just, and they have a certain amount of their own independence. But then when the
right.
two of you get together, you have a lot of fun together, you really
Hmm.
feed off each other's energy. You have a lot in common. Like I that's kind of what I could see for you.
Yeah, because it's the fatal line of, what did I do wrong? Did I upset you? It's all those questions. It's like, no, 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 no. It's like,
Yes.
it's nothing to do with you. It's selfish. It's here. It's between it's between my ears. I can't. And yeah, so yeah, but I've learned to, because at one time I never used to recognize it. It was like, I never recognized I was ambivert. I used to keep trying to go, go, go. And then, of course, I would crash and burn eventually, which, is equally not such a good state to get into, because it lasts even longer than 2 days usually when you do that. So, right.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I think that you bring up a good point too, in that, like, the type of partner that would, and generally is the best type of partner to have, is somebody who has a secure attachment style. And so, if they have a secure attachment
Right.
style, then they're able to understand and probably be secure in themselves to know that, it's okay that you go away. You're not available for a couple of days. It's not a
Right.
reflection on them. It's not a reflection of the relationship or your feelings. They just
Hmm.
have a healthy sense of self. And so, but if you were to get involved with somebody who had a bit more anxiety or anxious attachment, then
Yeah.
they would be the ones phoning you, like, why, like, what's going on? Did I do something wrong? Can we get together? And you'd be saying, no, I need some space. I thought I
Yeah.
explained that to you. So yeah.
Well, it's the organic date questions that come up, right? So if you're not in that space, if you're not secure, they start dating like, well, are you seeing somebody else? Or, what did I do wrong? Or, did I upset you? All those dating things come in. But the flip of that, what's interesting, is people that do exhibit those anxiety things. That's also attractive in terms of their outward energy, because they are very often super vibrant, I find.
Mm, mm.
So,
Okay.
so right. So I don't. So I'll give you an example. I don't want to name names, but I went to a networking meeting last week, and I said hello to somebody I'd met for a couple of times before, and their outward energy is absolutely super confident, no anxiety, no stress. And they came to me and said, "Hey, I'm new at the event. Will you be my buddy for the next 30 minutes or something? Will you take me around and introduce?" And I would never ever have thought that that person would have needed that help. Good news is they asked.
Right.
The bad news is I
Mhm.
assumed that they would never ever need that help.
Right.
so so
Right.
I walk with this person around and introduce them to as many people that I'd met before, to get them to kind of settle down. And it was very interesting, because the energy, I could tell the energy was anxious, and it went to calm
Mm-hmm.
after they got rid of their own internal anxiety. However,
Right.
that's attractive to somebody like me that likes energy, right? So
That's really interesting. Okay. Mm-hmm.
so it's not the it's not the north magnetic effect. It becomes the north south pole magnetic effect, right? So
Right. Right.
so
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Not that I'm like you are, but that's some of my little analytical things I've come up with is that, sometimes it's not what you expect to be attractive. It can be the opposite. So
Right. And it sounds like this person was good at sort of like some people when they have anxiety, they just over time they develop coping strategies to
yes,
just kind of deal with it, right? They're really
right.
really not very calm inside, but they have this way of still putting on a good face, and they
Yep.
can still act like they're feeling pretty good just because they've kind of learned to adapt with the anxiety. And I think too, like it sounds like this person was able to reach out to you, and then knew, sort of had a knowing that once they did that, they found this resource of, then their comfort level rose, and then they were able to calm
Yeah.
down. So they had that, they knew that they could find something or someone that would help
Hmm.
them. So
Yep.
yeah.
Well, it was interesting because I love C words. I already mentioned four, which is how you got here to be my guest. But it was noticeably interesting to watch how as the confidence grew, the calmness grew as well. It was
Right.
extremely interesting to see that. So yeah. But the
Mm-hmm.
other piece of that is a lot of people that do feel that anxiety become, as Tisha would tell me, they become wallflowers at a group meeting. So they tend to be more in the corner or more on the outskirts of the meeting and don't
Mm-hmm.
want to really get engaged.
Mm-hmm.
So I think recognizing, if you do go to networking meetings, whatever, that, if you see people hanging out on the outskirts or in a corner, go talk to them, go help them get plugged in and get engaged, because they're often okay once they get plugged in, but they like to be a wallflower and hang out.
Yes, absolutely. Um, I can't recall her name right now. I'm going to look it up if I have a moment to do that. But I've been studying or watching these uh, recordings with. There's a psychologist in the States who she's done all of this work um, on body language. And
Right,
so she recently, the reason that I thought of her was because she actually did an interview where she talked about what to do when you're in these big
right.
networking um, in these rooms, and you don't know what to do, you feel awkward. And anyway, so she's I'll maybe put it in the
Yeah, that would be great.
comments or add it, but she's been an amazing resource because yeah, she also talks about things like like the best sort of LinkedIn profile pictures,
Yeah,
why you know uh, dating, relating to people, how not to be awkward. She talks about just like everything in behavioral science, anything that you've ever
right.
wondered about.
Hmm.
So yeah, so anyways, it's amazing these days how many people you can learn from, these experts that do so much research.
Yeah,
And I've just been loving just kind of listening to a lot of podcasts and things like that. And I think that's how you just, you learn so much too, is just by listening
yep,
to other experts. Yeah.
yep, sure. So, I know you can't name names, but what would be your most successful little short story you could tell about a client? It can be in any arena, but obviously, again, selfishly, I I want to hear about the dating or relationship thing. So yeah, how did you make somebody shine? Because I love your whole mantra around, shining, polishing people up, because often it's very subtle. It's only a little bit and it makes a massive difference, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
what's your notable success story?
So, yeah, so I think my and just before I get into that story, if I may, I just want to explain the shine, because
Yeah,
the reason why I chose shine was actually because, so I love LinkedIn. I don't think that's a secret. I've written a lot of
yeah,
posts and videos, even dedicating to like how much I truly, truly appreciate this community and all the people. Just there's so much encouragement, so much positivity, and I've had just such an amazing experience so far. And so what people have commented to me is like, keep shining, Jacqueline, you're doing great, like
right.
loving your posts, this and that. And so then when I wanted to start shine, my relationship and dating coaching, I named it Shine, because I thought, well, like that just is such a positive and bright sort of
Hmm.
term. And so to get into a story about a client, it would be really more of a love story, I think, with herself, which is, I think, so much of what people really need.
Right.
Um, so when I first met her, she later told me actually that she was about 2 or 3 months away. She kind of had a plan to end her life by
Wow.
Christmas. We met in the fall. She had this plan to end her life by Christmas.
Wow.
And yeah, and she said she was very good at masking that. Like even with me, like she did not allude to how much pain she was in or how much she was really hating her life at that point. But we did start doing a lot of work on the things that she could do, baby steps along the way. She started to really we got into some of her past trauma. We got into how she viewed herself on the inside versus how she viewed herself on the outside. She herself did a lot of work, journaling and things like that. A pretty introspective person. And now, so quite a bit of time has passed, but she has just an amazing relationship with herself. She loves herself. She's made her outside match her inside. So she just the way she presents herself to the world, she's excited about life. She feels vibrant. She's just for the first time really good with who she is. And so that's been an amazing to watch and to be
Hmm.
part of and to know. Like she's explicitly thanked me a number of times for helping her get to the point that she's at. And
Wow.
so yeah, that's been amazingly
So
just wonderful.
how long of a period? How many sessions?
uh 12 probably.
Hmm.
Hmm.
In 6 months or less or what?
Yes. Yeah. About 6 months. Yeah.
About 6 months. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing how the half year, you know. So, that I'm a process guy, and I tell people, you know, it's funny, people always want different outcomes, but they don't want to change what I call the process inputs.
Hmm.
And I say to people, hey, it's simple. No change equals no change. And then when I worked in Texas, it was same old equals same old. So,
Right. Right.
and it's amazing. People foresee or wish or want a different output or outcome, and they lose themselves in the process, right? They go round and round and round. I call it churning or making butter, but because
Hmm.
ultimately it will come to because what I found is in any process, and I'm sure you find it in yours,
Hmm.
you actually always get what you design. Period. Guarantee.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
if you've got a lot of discombobulation you're trying to deal with on the outcome or output side of yourself, you have
Mhm.
a lot of discombobulation on the input side of your life, and
Right.
but people mask it in the process. So I
Mhm.
think your word is coping skills. I would say that people do all this process churn to mask what's really
Okay.
going on instead of wanting to go, what they call slay some of those process inputs, which are really
Mhm.
creating, the havoc on the output side of life. So yeah,
Absolutely. Yes.
yep.
Yes.
So it's funny. I was telling
And
you,
then,
in
you know,
go ahead,
oh,
go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so just building on that, like in her case, I don't think love was so much her goal dating. It wasn't so much her goal, but having that relationship with herself was. And so
Hmm.
I believe that this is truly where if you are looking for love, you are looking for a relationship that you do, or if you're in one and you want it to improve,
Right.
that it really starts with us. It starts with the person, the individual, and
Yep.
working on how to build themselves up and feel more whole. Yeah.
Right. Well, it's
Mhm.
funny joining those concepts together. I kind of tease some people. They'll say, "Well, this networking doesn't work," and I said, "Well, what work did you do?" And so, "What do you mean?" Well, I showed up, and I said, "No, no, no. What work did you do? Did you like have a plan? Did you prepare? Did you actually work the room? Did you follow up? Did you? Oh no, I didn't do any of that." It's like that's why it's called net working. You have to
Right.
do the work.
Right.
But
Right.
and
Yes.
it's always the hardest work, right? Doing our self work. It's always easy
It
doing
really
everyone
is.
else's work, but doing your self work,
Mm,
brutal.
yeah, it's real. Yeah,
Well,
it's
brutal for me, but anyway, it may not be for you.
no, I think it's brutal a bit for everybody. For
Cool.
sure. Yeah,
All
we all
right.
have our stuff.
So, do you have any funny quick stories, and then we'll get into what you've got coming up and how people can find you. So,
Sure. Funny stories. Let me think now. I
or
don't
or
know.
or something that didn't work, because it's always nice to reflect upon the what does work, but reality is not everything we do works.
No, not everything we do does work. Hmm. I can't, nothing's really coming to my mind as far as a funny story. I'm thinking of my own dating life before
Oh,
I was married,
uh-huh.
where I had some funny stories, but
Me too.
but not
So
in
I have
my
a
work so far.
right.
There
So I
hasn't
have a
really
funny one. Can I share my
been. Okay,
funny one?
I would love to hear it.
All right. So it was a while ago. Actually, I was in Dallas, Texas. So I left there in 2016. So it's a while ago, and I don't even remember the name, but I remember the circumstances. So I was on this dating app, and I agreed to meet somebody. And the energy was great. The interchange was fabulous, and I showed up at this place, and it was before I didn't do selfies with my phone until 2019 or beyond. So that's how introverted I was, and so I say this is what I'll be wearing, and I picked the place because I knew the place, and so I could tell them this is where I'll be sitting. So I'm there, and this lady approaches, and it's like, well, and it's like immediately it felt off. It was like, this is really strange. And anyway, I stood up, and she came up to me, and she put her hand out, and in a stiff handshake, she said, I'm such and such. And I said, oh, I'm Bruce. And she said, oh, really? And that was it. And then we got coffee or tea. I think it was tea. And we sat down, and I started to talk with her, and there is no correlation between the conversations I was having through the app and the conversations we were in person. And it's like, and I was really trying for 5 or 10 minutes. And I said, you know what? Can I ask you something? I said, do you actually know who I am? And she said, no, not really. And I said, well, how did you know how to come here and show up?" And she said, "Oh, I have my personal assistant do it all." So I was actually talking. She was a busy attorney. So I was talking to
Oh,
the personal assistant, not her, because she had
oh
the
my
personal
goodness.
assistant just set up all these dates on the off chance she would meet somebody that she gel or jive with straight away because she was too busy.
Oh,
So it's like,
okay.
well, that's a new one. I could understand why, because how busy she was and how much she valued her time. So I could understand all that, but it was like unbelievable. So I said, "I guess we're not really jiving, are we?" And she said, "No, not really." And I said, "Okay, bye." So,
I've never heard of that. Yes, it can be time consuming to go out on dates but if you really don't have the time for it, then
well, at
uh,
least she showed up. I mean, the plus side, she showed up.
she did
The
show
plus
up.
side,
We'll
she
give her
told the
props for
truth.
that.
But if I had jive with her, it would have been great because she was,
Yes.
she had all the right characteristics on paper, but we didn't jive because there was no
Right.
connection. I'd had this conversation, but there was no connection, and so it was like starting with an avatar. Like talking to an
Exactly.
avatar.
As far as dating strategies go, I bet you that one doesn't work at all.
Well, she said it worked for her because and kudos to her, right? So anyway. All
Right.
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 So what do you have coming up to wrap up the year? And you already mentioned LinkedIn, but how do people? What's the best way for people to find you and search for your help?
Yes. So LinkedIn is always the best place to find me. I am on Instagram, um,
Okay.
but yeah, and I can leave that
Yeah. In the comments.
shining. I can leave that in the comments. Um, I am looking at creating a course or maybe just for like I haven't fully completed the details on it, but I would like to offer something free for folks who experience anxious attachment style.
Okay.
Um, and probably something on LinkedIn. Maybe it'll be a course. I haven't completed
Hmm.
that. That will be before the end of the year, and I'll post about that. I'll advertise it and offer it and make sure that people have enough
Right.
time and notice I um, before I post that. So and that's really it. So yeah,
Okay. So do you have a resource to help you with that coursing? Or are
a
you going to do
resource.
it yourself?
Pardon me.
Or are you going to do it yourself?
I'm going to do it myself. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Hmm.
Well, depending on how that goes, if you do need a resource, I have an amazing prior guest and LinkedIn connection. She's based in the UK, but she is unbelievable about helping people. She works with
Okay.
predominantly coaches and specialists to develop online courses. So she is mega cool, really
Wonderful.
good. Yeah.
I would love to
So
know
hey,
about her. Yes,
yeah. Well, I'll tag
that'd
her
be
in this,
great.
but anyone I mentioned, so like Tisha and whatever, I always tag them in the replay. So yes, her name's Veronica, and
Okay.
her coaching business is called V-Power, which interesting enough is the same slogan that Shell uses for its gas. So whenever I see a V-Power gas station, I always think of her. But my passion is IndyCar racing, and Shell are creating renewable fuels for Indy cars now. So that's another V-Power connection. So yeah,
There you go.
cool.
Nice.
Yeah, and I got to dance with Veronica in a cafe in London as the cafe closed. That's her deal. Whenever she meets people in person, she always wants them to dance with them. So
Oh, that's really nice. That's cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Right.
not. Yeah, it wasn't cool for me, but it was cool for her. Way outside my comfort zone, but we did it.
Good for you for going outside your comfort zone.
Oh, I do it all the time. I'm always sticking my neck out.
It's
So,
the
well,
only way to
cool.
do it.
All right. Well, hang a little bit. I do two little outtakes because I can never remember what to say. So first one is my little brand story, and this is Devin James, who was a guest who I met last fall in Portland, and we met for lunch, which ended up floating around all afternoon. We went to a seasonal happy hour, which was on a deck on the Columbia River in Portland, and we were there all afternoon floating around. So this is what came of that. So big LinkedIn power.
Okay.
Oh, not that one. Okay, get the right one, Bruce. See, go. Can't blame the technology when the operator's bad.
You're frustrated that you have no time and you just hate it. You lost your mind. You're running around the kids and the spouse, and the business that was once your passion has got you burnt out. So, consult with Bruce, the guy in the blue shirt. He'll help you find the truth so that you can do you first. See, it's all about simpler, faster, better, so you can save massive amounts of time and money instead of longing for the day where you can finally kick your feet up. Do yourself a favor. Call up Bruce. He'll tell you about process cleanup.
What do you think?
That's cool. It's
Yeah.
really good.
Did you see yourself on the beach at the end
No.
in the white shirt doing woo?
Oh, no, I didn't.
So if you ever need a brand story, I call him the brand story maestro. And then to follow up, just to start promoting this is my 3D digital headquarters. So everything that I used to have on multiple sites is all in this one place inside the Omniverse City. And it's called Process Cleanup. But for fun, I'll show you what Devin and I did. We ended up creating 3 spaces which people are going to be able to see. And we ended up with spaces called Connect and Shop and Shop and Play.
You don't want to miss out, that's all I'm gonna say. The right place, the right time, the right tech. In the Omniverse is where I place my bet.
Connect and Shop and Shop and Play.
Imagine having Google stocks back in the day when you got up on the ground floor. Pennies to the dollar, this is opportunity calling, so you better yell holla, holla, holla.
Who would have thought I'd do a rap song in my 60s?
That's fun.
Yeah,
great.
So anyway, so that's the little trailer for my Connect Shop Play, my 3D headquarters, which I'm starting to do some mini tours of, starting this afternoon, actually. And every Friday for the next few Fridays. Not Thanksgiving Friday, but so yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Get
Very
people to understand that, you know, if they can think it, it can happen now. So amazing.
Wow.
All right.
Sounds amazing.
Closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts. Just thank you so much for interviewing me today. I really enjoyed my time talking to you. And if anyone, happens to have any questions, I'd be happy to answer anything. And, check out my profile on LinkedIn, Shine Dating and Relationship Coaching. And I do one-to-one coaching. So if anyone wants to reach out, I'm hoping really to branch off into the group coaching down the road and master classes. That's really what I want to get going. But for now, it's mostly the one-on-one. And then I post daily too. So
you do.
You can catch me there too.
Your posts are very thought-provoking. So if you're not following or connected to Jacqueline, make sure you do. And and I remember the one sentence of connectivity that we had. You spell your name exactly the same as my younger sister, who's still in the UK. So I now remember that was the first connection we made, because I said, "Hey, you spell your name like my English sister."
That's right. I remember that.
So words are important, right?
They sure are.
All right, we'll just hang for a minute. Thanks, everyone. Apologies about the comments. There's nothing I can do about it. The comments are working on YouTube, but I have them turned off because I had some crazy people would come and do crazy things on YouTube. So, but anyway, so if you commented on LinkedIn, we couldn't see you. Sorry. We'll come back. All right. Hang there. Bye, everyone.
Bye.